Hi everyone and welcome back to episode 25 of Peaking into Success podcast. We're at a quarter of a century now, which I'm buzzing to have got to. And today we've got someone who is used to the podcasting world and is an assistant producer on Have a Word podcast, as well as branching into his own world of music. So today we have Finnlay Kulavuz.
The Bless is open every day from 12 p.m, serving a wide range of beers, ciders, real ales and spirits. Their kitchen also provides handmade pizzas, loaded nachos, chicken strips and ice cream from 5:50 to 10:30 Monday to Thursday and 12 p.m to 10:30 p.m Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The pub quiz is very popular with anyone that enjoys a good beer and a bit of a laugh with their mates. Taking place every Wednesday at 9 p.m, there's loads of prizes to be won, including £50 drinks vouchers for the winners and a bottle of wine for the best team name. Everyone's a winner. They also have a spacious function room available to hire that can hold up to 100 people. Wow, that's a lot. Perfect for birthday parties, work events, weddings and wakes. The Bless really comes to life at the weekends with their branded nights of Stone Love and Fully Loaded, where the DJs play alternative, indie and rock music spanning the generations until the early hours of 2 a.m. There really is something for everyone in what is arguably Derby's best pub.
So, hi Finn, how are you today?
I'm not too bad. Cheers for having me, man.
Oh, no, thank you. Pleasure's all mine. I mean, you're probably used to podcasting more than myself. You've got a lot of years under your belt, so you're probably going to be better and more comfortable at this than myself, so it's an honour to have you on.
No worries.
For anyone that doesn't know you, how would you explain yourself in a nutshell to everyone?
Oh, tough question. Starting off heavy. My name's Finn. I am the assistant producer on the podcast Have a Word, and I'm also a musician with my own band.
Nice. So, I mean, it all started off for you with, of course, the podcast that you've mentioned, Have a Word. You were initially an intern, so how did you get into that internship and how has your role progressed on the podcast since starting to now?
So I was initially a fan of Have a Word back when it started in January 2020, and I listened to it pretty religiously during the lockdowns, and like everyone, just looking for some entertainment during the lockdown. So Have a Word was one of my escapes. And then I think it was maybe September 2020, I just finished my undergraduate degree at Salford Uni. And I was panicking of what was going to come next. There was no jobs about. Everyone on my course was panicking that there was no kind of journalism jobs around. And the internship for Have a Word was advertised. I was a bit hesitant at first, but I was talked into it. So I applied for that job, I got my interview, and then a trial week with another lad. And luckily, I got the job. I got on with the lads quite well. And since then, at that point, I think it was on maybe 800 Patreons and 8,000 YouTube subscribers, something like that. It was a relatively small company compared to the absolute juggernaut that it is now. So I was doing one clip a week at that point, and going into the studio, which they actually told me I didn't need to do, but I really enjoyed it and wanted to make myself a part of the team. So since then, it's just got bigger and bigger. We've done more clips, more specials, more time on the mic for me, and it's just growing and growing, and it's not actually stopped growing, which is nice. So it's just been one wild ride that's not kind of stopped yet.
100%. I mean, a good fact that I know is that 90 to 95% of podcasts, of course, don't go over like the year anniversary and kind of, as you've said, have a word to become a juggernaut, and it's kind of excelled and it keeps pushing and it keeps pushing, and it's kind of course, for yourself, I assume, giving you a platform to do things outside the podcast to make yourself a name and give yourself an audience. I mean, the podcast has quite a religious following, like you said when you were a fan. So it kind of shows that with that kind of religious following, you can kind of showcase yourself and have that initial backing from the fans, which is nice. And of course, musically for yourself, did the podcast help you with, of course, there was the single Laura's Gone that kind of came out around Christmas time. Did that kind of give you kind of the first push in the direction musically, like to the greater audience?
Yeah, the podcast definitely helped with the music. It's helped especially with social media. So I wasn't that into, I wasn't tweeting or I wasn't posting on Instagram very much before the podcast, and I was on maybe 200 followers on all of my platforms. So it's definitely helped that and grown that and kind of made people aware of the music. But I've been plugging away at music, but professionally, kind of in bars and stuff since I was 16. So it wasn't necessarily the podcast that started that, but it definitely gave me the kick up the arse I needed to be like, you need to do something with this, otherwise you're gonna rue the opportunities you missed when you look back. So it made me start the band. It made me record singles, release stuff, put myself a bit more out there, doing original material. But yeah, Laura's Gone was crazy. It started as a joke. I was in this room that I'm in now, just strumming the guitar, having writer's block, and the words Laura's Gone came out of my mouth. And I kind of went from there. I posted a little demo into the work group chat. And they're like, "What is this? You've got to play this at the original live show," which was, I think it was it August 2021. And it just went from there. It was just a joke that got out of hand, really, is how I'd explain it. So it was pretty wild. And then it ended up going for the Christmas chart push. It raised a lot of money for charity. And yeah, I can't really listen to that song now because I've heard it so much. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm proud of.
Do you still perform it in your live shows, so when you're touring with the podcast?
No, it's dead. It's dead and buried. We retired it at the arena show at Christmas. So on the tour now, the lads have just said to me, well, what they said was it was quite funny. We're not very good at planning as an organisation. We're the core team is like 6 lads that are awful at any planning. So it's just winging it and hoping it'll go all right. So before the first live show at Birmingham, they were just like, "What song are you playing?" I was like, "I don't know. I thought you guys were going to tell me what song to play." So we ended up just doing songs that I do in my cover sets that I think go down well, and we've kind of settled on "Don't Look Back in Anger" as the closing song because everyone knows it and it's a nice sing along for everyone.
Wicked. And of course, you've mentioned covers as kind of part of your set. Do you have a particular artist that you'd liken yourself to musically? For anyone that doesn't know your music.
I don't know. It's kind of, I'm still kind of finding my footing with my stuff and kind of figuring out what sound I'm going for, because I like such a varied taste in music that I can go from listening to my favourite band, that's your Oasis, to listening to William Onyeabor, who's a Nigerian funk musician. They can literally be 2 songs that are played after each other, and I don't bat an eyelid with that. So I'm trying to figure out what it is. I think it's leaning towards indie pop, which is pretty. It's a well trodden path. But yeah, indie pop is what I'd go for. I don't think there's maybe someone like Easy Life I really like at the minute, so maybe I'd go for them.
Nice. And of course, your latest single, well, EP, I guess, is Do You Know? For anyone that hasn't heard it, what's kind of the message behind the single and an EP as a whole?
So Do You Know the song was written in lockdown, the first lockdown. So I was living in Salford at that time, and like everyone, kind of got a bit introspective about life and kind of thinking about the bigger questions and sort of stuff like that. So that's a very introspective song of kind of, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, do you know who you are? Is the kind of refrain of that song, and I was kind of musing on who I'd become as a person at that point. So yeah, that's what that song's about. But the rest of the EP is pretty. It's varied of what it means. Each song, there's not a kind of consistent through message. It's just a collection of songs that have been written over the past couple of years that I kind of feel best represent what I'm doing at the minute.
Nice. And I mean, you've kind of started performing live, I guess, to a bigger scale now, as of course the M&S Arena in Liverpool was kind of, is that your kind of biggest performance so far, to the most amount of people?
I think pretty comfortably that's the biggest one. That was 7,000 people, which was, I think if you'd have told me that a few years ago, I wouldn't have believed that was going to happen. But yeah, playing on the Have a Word tour, it's been like crowds of 1,000 a lot of the time, which is so strange. We talk about it backstage of how normal that's become, and that such a small percentage of people in their lifetime get a chance to, performers get a chance to do something like that, and it's just become, it's become normal and really, really nice. But in terms of my music, we've done one gig with the band in Jimmy's in Liverpool, and that was just over 200 people. And I was more nervous for that than the arena show, to be honest, because that was kind of, my name's on the door and the tickets are, people have come to see me. So there was a bit more pressure than when it's with the Have a Word lot, who were kind of a team. And I think it's fair to say no one's there specifically to come and watch me. So, the pressure was definitely on for the Jimmy's one.
Did you notice, of course, a lot of the people for the Jimmy's one were fans of the podcast, or was it kind of people that were just finding you through Spotify or other means of music?
I don't have any stats on that. I'd imagine the vast majority are podcast fans. I recognised a couple of our kind of hardcore fans that were there. But yeah, I think it's more a case. My aim is just to find where the crossover is of the podcast fans that like that kind of music, and kind of hoping they'll become fans of my stuff, not necessarily because of the podcast, but through the podcast, and kind of using Have a Word as a platform to build my own kind of fan base, as it were.
And I mean, with how you've spoken so far, it shows, even of course live shows and stuff, they're quite supportive of your music and trying to push it to, of course, as you said, 7,000 people live. So they're kind of supportive.
I think also it's a case of they don't know how to finish a show, so they're just like tapping me on the head like a little kid, going, go and do your songs, go on, you wrap this up for us. But yeah, they're dead supportive with the music. And yeah, all the live shows have tended to finish with me doing a song of some kind. That was Laura's Gone for a couple of years, and now the covers. And I'm hoping we'll find something else as well, some sort of original song that is linked to the podcast, whether that's one of the Nashville songs or something like that.
Wicked. Of course, we've kind of gone quickly through kind of your career and who you are. Is there a particular career high for you at the moment, or is there something that we've already mentioned that is that?
Yeah, I think this would, when I talk to people, I think people expect me to say the arena. And it was great, don't get me wrong, it was brilliant. But I'm genuinely more proud of the Jimmy's gig, which was because, like I said, it was my name on the door. It was the majority were my songs. We did one cover really as the band. So I think I was definitely more proud of that, and seeing people sing along to the songs that you've worked at is a feeling that doesn't get old. So yeah, I'd definitely say the Jimmy's gig. I think at the minute, hopefully, that'll just keep changing with the steps up the ladder. So each gig will be better than the last, and that'll become the proudest and career highlight. Yeah.
No, that's a nice way of putting it. That you've got one, and it's kind of you on your own. You kind of got them 200 people there. So of course, when it progresses, and maybe the next time it's 300, next time it's 400, that's all your own doing. So of course, that's why it's a career high for yourself. Is there is that a defining moment in your career, or have you got something else that sticks out that's kind of defined you in your career?
I think it's either the Jimmy Show or the arena. In terms of the arena, to look at was something special, and I didn't really process that for a few weeks after it. It felt like a dream, and I didn't actually fully comprehend what had happened until I watched the special back and kind of saw the performance at the end. I think it's one of those two for sure for now.
Yeah, nice. So of course you talked about past tours that you've done and gigs, and especially Jimmy's. What's kind of your summer plans, so for yourself and your music career? What have you got planned?
So we've had 2 gigs so far. We had the Jimmy's one at the end of June, and then we had one for a company called Sofa Sounds. That was last week in Liverpool. That was a stripped back thing. In terms of the band, we've got 1 gig booked for the summer, because it's a relatively new project. I'm sure if you spoke to us this time next year, there'll be a lot more booked in. But we're playing a festival called Cosmic Cape, which is near Chester. It's in a place called Capenhurst, headlined by The Real Thing and Craig Charles. So we're playing that on the 5th of August. And then we're in talks at the minute with a very exciting venue in Liverpool, and then also a gig in Manchester. So those will be kind of September, October time. And then you go from there. I think we're just taking it 1 gig at a time at the minute and trying to build up that fan base and get some eyes on us, basically.
Yeah. Are you still going to kind of push for on the podcast as well? So making sure that you're still getting your music out in other ways, like the podcast, or through more singles coming out or anything like that?
Yeah, there's nothing recorded at the minute. There's only demos at the minute. So there's nothing ready to go. The EP was kind of the big thing for the next couple of months. But yeah, the podcast is definitely. It would be stupid of anyone in that position to not use that platform. So the second there's new music, the podcast will be probably the first place people hear about it.
Nice. We're kind of going into the more thought-provoking questions now. So, if you take yourself back to a 10-year-old Finnlay, what's one piece of advice that you'd give to him?
Oh, stop being so arrogant, I think is probably my one. As a child, I was pretty insufferable and wanted to be everything and wanted to do everything possible. I was in every sports club. I was in every kind of team in school, just I don't know what I was trying to prove to anyone, but I just thought I was the best and wanted to be the best at everything. So I just say, just chill out a little bit. Stop being so arrogant. You're not as smart as you think you are. And yeah, I think just enjoy that. Enjoy the ride of childhood and high school, because people always tell you that when you're there, they're like, this will be gone quicker than you realise. You'll be an adult. And I think I didn't believe them and kind of wanted to be independent and wanted to be an adult. But yeah, I miss the kind of naivety and freedom of being a child. No. So enjoy the ride. Stop being so arrogant. That's what.
No, that's nice. I think that's a nice way of putting it. like you're trying to focus on the negative, but you put a positive spin on it, I feel. And I mean, with the sports teams, do you still keep active with any sports? Because I know that when you were goalkeeper, football-wise...
Yeah, I was a goalie. I don't think it would be safe to say I'm a goalie anymore. I think that would be an insult to the sport. Yeah, I don't. It's very hectic at the minute in my life. Because if in the week I'm doing Have a Word, and then at the weekends I'm gigging, and in between fitting in band practice and fitting in all sorts of things, so I've not really had time for football. It's something I do miss. I don't really play any of the sports anymore. I used to play tennis quite regularly, but life gets in the way. So I need to go and play football. I don't really have time to commit to the weekends and the midweek training, so I think it'd have to be something like five-a-side. But yeah, I do miss that, because that's kind of an escape from the noises of life. And when you're playing footy, you just... people have their own things, don't they? Mine are guitar and football. And when I'm doing either of those things, the problems you've had that day are just out the window, and you're just focused on that task in hand. So yeah.
100%. The next kind of thought, kind of going back again to 10-year-old you and looking through kind of your career to date, is there anything that you'd do differently if you could do it all again?
I don't, not much, to be honest. I think I'm quite fortunate. I'm very fortunate for where I am for my age, in terms of I've got a pretty cool job, and I'm still relatively young in the grand scheme of things, despite how old I feel. I'd maybe start the band earlier. I'd have just said to myself, just do it, because it's been something I've put off for years and years, and just been insecure about it and thinking no one's going to rate any of the stuff I do. But it doesn't really matter about that. It's about whether I enjoy it or not, and whether the lads I'm with are enjoying it. So I definitely just start the band earlier and just get over myself in terms of that.
Nice. I think that's a good way. Then, of course, your progression could have been a lot much sooner, but I mean, with the way it's going and who you're performing to already, the amount of people and the views that it's already got on Spotify is, I mean, you've got one nearly on 50,000 views on Spotify. I think the trajectory of it is just up and up and up for you, so just keep prodding along at it. Yeah,
I hope this is a start. I don't want this to be the peak, obviously. I think that's the motto for everyone, is just kind of keep building a fan base, and keep going and keep writing. I want this to be the start of something instead of the peak. Nice.
Right, we've got some quick fire questions for you now. Of course, you don't know what I'm going to ask, but this should all be... I think you would have thought about them somewhat in your time, so you should have an answer for them. Of course, the first one is a go-to karaoke song. So I know that you do covers, so you'll definitely have one song in mind for that.
Yeah, well, karaoke, I tend to go for... I try and do different ones all the time, but the one I've probably done the most is I Will Survive.
Okay. Gloria Gaynor.
Yeah. I don't tend to do karaoke unless I'm out with the Have a Word lads, and that's normally Dan that's encouraging us to do that. So yeah, I'll go for I Will Survive.
Nice. Of course, you mentioned about football and kind of your escapism with that. Is there a football shirt that kind of brings back fond memories, or a shirt that you own if you have a collection now, that is your favourite football shirt?
Yeah, there's a Turkey away top it's the 96 to 98 Turkey away top. I own it now, but it was the first kit I remember having as a kid. I had my surname back, and there's loads of photos of me as a 3-4 year old in it. I bought that during the Euros a couple of years ago. I just splashed out it. It's quite a rare kit. Obviously, they're not making copies of an obscure Turkish kit nowadays.
No.
So I'd go for that one.
Nice. Have you of course seen Turkey play live at all? Have you?
I'm not.
Is that something you'd want to do, or?
Yeah. So there's Wales-Turkey is coming up in November in Cardiff.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to get to that. It depends on work and other commitments, but if I can get down to that, I'm gonna do that, because that's kind of the Finn derby.
What side would you sit in?
Oh, I think probably I don't think I could sit in the away. I don't speak enough Turkish. So I'd probably go for the Welsh team, but I'd be completely neutral. And whoever won, I just want to have a nice day. I'm not bothered.
Fair enough. This will be interesting because, of course, you've got Turkish and Welsh in you. If you had a chef come to you now and he said he'd make you one meal and give you one beverage, what are you asking for?
Okay, so I'm going to pretend I'm not vegetarian.
Yeah.
Because the palate's been limited somewhat. So I'm going to go for... The beverage is easy. I know that one, and I talked to Dan about it a lot on the podcast. It's fresh orange juice.
Yes.
Cold, fresh orange juice from one of the machines where it spits the oranges out. Properly nice orange juice. You can't beat it. I would have that over any other drink. I'd drink that all day, every day. In terms of the food, there's a specific kebab shop. It's so stereotypically. There's a specific kebab shop in my hometown in Turkey, where my family are, that do an Iskender kebab, which isn't that common in Britain. You can get them occasionally, but it's kind of a rich, very, very thinly sliced bits of doner meat, but it's not the doner meat you're used to in Britain. It's good meat.
Yeah.
I'm salivating, and I miss not being a vegetarian. So nice cuts of meat with little bits of cubed bread, almost between like a crouton and a bit of bread, so it's slightly crunchy, with a really rich, garlicky, creamy tomato sauce, but not like a ketchup, more like a passata or something like that, with natural yogurt. That's my meal. So it's an Iskender kebab, it's called. If you've not had one, go and try it. They're amazing.
I think I need to. I mean, you sold it very well. Saying that you're vegetarian, you sold it perfectly.
Yeah.
The next one is to do with the podcast. So if you could pick a guest, so it's kind of, they've gone to you, they've said, Finn, pick your dream guest. Who are you picking?
Purely in a selfish manner, just so I can meet them. But I've also got to think of who would be good. I think Noel Gallagher would be a great guest.
Nice.
I think he's quite funny in his interviews, and I think he'd get along with the bullshit that happens on the podcast. So I'd go for Noel Gallagher.
Nice, and I mean, as you said, you like Oasis, you do a cover, so I mean, you can play that to him. Maybe to end out the podcast, try and do a duet with him.
I don't think I'd be able to play guitar in front of Noel Gallagher. I would feel like an absolute charlatan. Yeah, I don't think I could play in front of him. I would love to, but yeah, that would be my most nervous moment, I think.
Of course, you mentioned Noel for the guest for the podcast, but who would be your dream artist collaboration? So you can make one song with anyone. Who would you choose?
I would love to make a song with Kevin Parker, who is Tame Impala.
Yeah.
Tame Impala's the name of the band, but Kevin Parker is the brains behind it. He plays all the instruments on the records. So I'd go for Kevin Parker.
Trying to do your band out of a job there.
It's not. I can't do any of that stuff. So I do the band, but in terms of making a song with someone who I think has an absolutely insanely good track record of making good songs, it's got to be him.
Nice. So, of course, you've spoken about the gigs that you've done so far. What is kind of your dream venue to perform at, and who would you have as the support act? So they can be bigger than you, but who would you have kind of as your roster as support acts with you headlining?
Okay, so festival, I want to play Glastonbury. That's my dream. I want to just go to Glastonbury, and I think playing there and saying that was the first time I went would be a great story. Venue. So there's one venue in Manchester that I absolutely love, and when I was a student in Manchester, that was the venue I'd look forward to most and go and watch gigs there the most, and that's the Albert Hall in Manchester. It's a beautiful old church that's been turned into a gig venue. I'm not actually sure how long ago, but the acoustics in there are great, and it's a lovely intimate venue. I think it's about 1,500 people. Nice. Support act. Ooh. Tell you what, I'll go for my mates who are the Blue Dolphin Wranglers. I really like that. I really rate their stuff, and it'd just be great. I just like hanging out with them, so I'll go for them.
Okay, nice. And I mean, you've done a song with them as well, haven't you? So
yeah.
You can call them out later on when you're headlining to play along with you. So no, that'll be nice. The last one, I kind of never had to do it this way before, but I wanted kind of two answers from you. So usually I ask what's kind of the gem of where you're from, but of course kind of you been based around Manchester a lot, so I thought, what is your gem of Salford, and also what's your gem of Real, where you're from?
Oh, you've picked two absolutely glamorous spots there. Salford is, I do miss Salford. I'd say it's probably quite cliche, but Media City at night time is very pretty, and I like walking along the Salford Quays. So I'd say Salford Quays area is really nice. Nice. Real, what's the gem of Real? Ooh, the beach. The beach is great in Real. Yeah, those are my answers.
No, I like that. Say, for example, I was going to include this, but I'll ask you, just in case you do have an answer. If you went to Turkey, what would be your gem of Turkey for a tourist?
So the place my family are based is a town called Turgotries, which is about 20 minutes from Bodrum, which is the nearest big city. And I love going to the market on a Saturday. They have a big market. It's a stretch of maybe a quarter of a mile long stretch of market. And it's all the fake T-shirts and the fake trackies and stuff like that. But with like random stuff like soap made out of goat's milk. And there's all random stuff. And I love walking through the market and haggling with people. So I'd go for the market in Turgotries.
Nice. Just to round up, where can people find you, kind of in any capacity, whether that be the podcast or yourself personally?
So I'm on all the social medias, like all the cool kids are these days. My on Twitter is Finnlay K, Finnlay, and then the letter K. And then for Instagram, Finnlay.kk. Have a word pod on all socials, and then all my tunes are on Spotify just under Finnlay K. So if you go and search for that, you'll find them.
Sweet. Thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can see you performing live soon and maybe get you on when you've got them bigger arenas and got yourself on the bill.
Oh, definitely. If I'm on an arena, I'll come back on, no worries.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Want to know what's happening within Derby's black community? Or perhaps you have a story of your own to share? Then look no further than Majatu, your one-stop source for local African and Caribbean news. With our digital news platform and quarterly print magazine, keep up to date on all of the latest in arts, entertainment, food, sports and more. Find us online at mojatu.com.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Peaking into Success podcast. If you enjoyed, please make sure you follow us on Spotify as well as Instagram, where you can see all the updates of who is coming up, as well as who has already been on the podcast, as well as Twitter, where there is information and interaction from me on there as well. Thank you.